trees talk? A question with a seemingly obvious answer. No. But, like everything, there are more layers to it than it seems on the surface. Firstly, can trees talk to us? Literally, of course, they can't. They don't have a tongue or a voice box. Don't think I need a source to back me up here, right? And no one has successfully taught a tree to speak English. Correct me if I'm wrong here. But we as humans have always held a sort of fascination, almost awe or even a fear of trees. Sounds slightly stupid, right? Think about a forest at night, though. Twisting branches, invisible paths that seem clear one moment and gone the next. Or even the little amount of light that barely manages to filter through a forest's thick boughs on a bright summer's morning. It all bleeds into the dark, the hidden, the unknown. The trees communicate with us by tapping into our fears. Or maybe it's us. We project our fears onto the forest by feeding it our stories. But we as humans have always wanted to understand the unknown, to classify and detail it. Look at how we have catalogued every species known to us. And we have done much the same with our forests. In the past, I believe we have wanted to know what is actually in there, but could not understand the layers of complexity and communication that occur. How a forest works as an ecosystem and not as separate entities through the cycle of growth and decomposition. But the process of photosynthesis was only discovered in 1779 by Jan Eichenhaus. And before modern sciences and practices, how are we meant to know what went on in the hidden spaces? How a forest thrived and grew and fell? Science and magic were one and the same as back as far as ancient Greece, Rome, or even the Middle Ages. So predictably, it was believed there were gods of the forest. This then was the only way to talk to it, through prayers and wishes. Pan, the ancient Greek god of shepherds and wild places, often featured his legends having him appear in, you guessed it, forests. The amount of folklore, myths, and gods that have stemmed from the trees, the unbelievable stories that humans have told. We must have some measure of respect. Through their existence, we as humans communicate respect. So far, I've talked about the trees talking to us, but what about within themselves? Trees have been found to transmit nutrients via a network of mycelium, tiny filament-like fungi that connect many different plants together. This mycelium might also have some form of primitive memory or decision-making ability, in that it can choose to grow towards new food sources or abandon older ones. Trees have also been shown to transmit chemical distress signals through these mycelial channels. There was an experiment done between a Douglas fir and a ponderosa pine, where, when the Douglas fir was infested with western spruce budworms, it produced a chemical defense signal to make itself more unpalatable. Within 24 hours, this same chemical defense showed up in the ponderosa pine. Trees have also been found to transmit excess nutrients through these networks. An example of this is a Douglas fir actually grew larger when in the same network as a pine because of the excess phosphorus it got sent by the pine, which it otherwise would have just used up. We do not know if trees are doing this consciously or if it is just an ability gained through millennia of evolution. But either way, a forest is a vast connected web of interactions. It communicates. You know before when I said no one has successfully taught a tree to speak English? Well, I was wrong-ish. A researcher, Evan Greeley and his team, hooked up all the bioelectrical signals, water, light level, temperature, etc., from a 150-year-old chestnut in Dublin to an LLM, a large language model, a type of AI like ChatGPT. This AI then, to some extent, translated these signals, speaking for the tree. If we could communicate with nature in the way nature communicates with itself and take better care of it, we could enter into a symbiotic relationship with the forest, much like that of mycelium. Imagine a world where you always knew what fruit to pick because a tree told you the ripest, where trees could send advance notice of wildfires, where you could hold a conversation about history with an oak, where trees could really talk.